Hey there, this is Evangelina, and you're watching Crime Cat Channel. Today's story is about Paige Birgfeld, a woman whose life was full of secrets. Who was Paige really? What was she hiding behind the mask of a happy wife and mother? And what ultimately happened to her? The answers to these questions are already known, so I invite you on a fascinating journey through the dark corners of the human soul. Paige was born and raised in Denver, Colorado. Everyone who knew her described her as a kind, sincere, and extremely family-oriented girl. From a young age, she dreamed of a cozy home, a loving husband, and lots of children. To pursue a career, Paige enrolled in the nursing program at the University of Florida in Gainesville. It was there that she met Ron Bagler, her first love. Their feelings blossomed throughout their studies, and after graduation, the young couple decided to get married. Paige desperately wanted to become a mother, but Ron honestly admitted that he wasn't ready for such a responsibility yet. The girl was uncompromising on this matter; she couldn't settle for less. The couple discussed the situation at length and eventually concluded that it would be better to divorce. Despite the breakup, Ron and Paige managed to maintain a friendship. The man held no grudge against his ex-wife and fully understood her desire. After the divorce, Paige got a job as a dancer at a nightclub. It was there that she met her second husband, Rob Dixon. This wealthy and successful businessman immediately caught the girl's eye. Unlike Ron, Rob dreamed of a full-fledged family and children. Moreover, the Dixon family was actively involved in charity work, helping those in need, which greatly impressed Paige. In 1998, the couple got married and moved to Grand Junction, Colorado, not far from the bride's hometown of Denver. By 2001, the couple was already raising 3 wonderful children. Paige couldn't be happier with her family life. It seemed that all her dreams had finally come true: a loving family, a cozy home, and a caring husband. The woman dedicated all her time to her little ones, showering them with maternal love and affection. To the outsider, Rob and Paige's life seemed perfect. A strong family, wonderful children, a thriving business, a luxurious house, and expensive cars. However, serious problems lurked behind the shiny facade. Poor investment decisions led to the collapse of Rob's enterprise, and the man lost everything he had earned in an instant. The family found themselves on the brink of losing the roof over their heads, as their house was mortgaged. Against the backdrop of financial hardship, the couple began to quarrel frequently, and loud arguments became commonplace in their home. In 2001, during yet another conflict, a frightened Paige called the police. When law enforcement arrived at the scene, Rob assured them that the situation had already been resolved and the misunderstanding had been settled. However, in 2005, the woman dialed 911 again and reported that her husband had lunged at her while holding one of the babies in his arms. This time, Rob was arrested. To avoid more serious consequences, the man made a deal with the investigators and admitted his guilt. The court ordered him to undergo mandatory anger management courses, after which the charges were dropped. Rob himself claimed that nothing of the sort had actually happened, and that Paige simply wanted to gain an advantage in the matter of child custody. Dark times fell upon Rob. His financial situation deteriorated to such an extent that he had to declare bankruptcy. The perfect picture of a happy family shattered to pieces. In 2006, the couple officially divorced. Rob headed to California, leaving Paige alone with all the worries about the children. The woman opened her own dance school to provide a decent life for her little ones. However, some sources claim that Paige was not actually the owner of the establishment, but merely worked there as a teacher. Thanks to a flexible work schedule, she could devote as much time as possible to her sons and daughter. It seemed that life was gradually getting back on track. But everything changed in the summer of 2007. On June 22, Paige attended a pool party where she shared her concerns about her own safety with a friend. However, the friend didn't take it too seriously, assuming that Paige simply wasn't used to single life yet and might be afraid of her ex-husband Rob. The friend tried to cheer Paige up, reminding her that Rob lived very far away from her, so there was no reason to worry. On an online forum, Paige shared her fears about her ex-husband Rob. She wrote that even the children were anxious about his behavior. But despite her concerns, on June 28, 2007, the woman left her kids in the care of a nanny and went to visit a friend. No one ever saw Paige again. 3 days passed before Ron Bagler, the missing woman's first ex-husband, contacted the police to report her disappearance. The news stunned Paige's loved ones. Her stepmother Susie and father Frank were convinced that their daughter would never do anything like this. She loved her children too much to abandon them. Soon, the investigators encountered an unexpected fact. It turned out that Paige had not one, but 2 failed marriages behind her. Her first chosen one was none other than Ron Bagler. And, ironically, it was he who, having reported the disappearance of his ex-wife, found himself among the first people the police wanted to interrogate. As Paige's father recounted, Bagler was once his daughter's true love. But most interestingly, in recent months, the former spouses had begun dating again. According to Kelly, Paige's brother's sister-in-law, the woman was extremely excited about rekindling her relationship with Ron. 10 years after the divorce, she confessed to her family that she had fallen in love with him again. But what most intrigued the investigators was the fact that on the day of her disappearance, Paige was with Bagler. Their date took place in the town of Eagle, Colorado. As far as I know, Paige and Ron had a picnic and spent half a day together. The day after Paige's disappearance, Bagler visited her home, where he found only the nanny with the children. While the Birgfeld family continued their search for the missing woman, the sheriff's office launched its own investigation. Professional divers were called in for the operation, but suddenly, a disturbing call came through to the 911 line. An eyewitness reported a car burning in a deserted parking lot. As it turned out, it was the same vehicle that Paige had set off in on the night of her disappearance. In the morning, law enforcement officials determined that the source of the fire was the passenger side of the car, and the driver's seat had been pushed back. These details led investigators to believe that someone had deliberately tried to destroy important evidence. Service dogs were brought in to examine the scene. One of them, catching a scent, led the police to a nearby van store. This seemingly minor detail would later prove to be remarkably important. While Paige's loved ones desperately hoped for her safe return, detectives focused their attention on the missing woman's second ex-husband, Rob Dixon. Details soon emerged about the woman's calls to 911 and the fact that she was selling kitchenware for the Pampered Chef company. This firm operated on the principle of network marketing, and Paige, as one of the most successful representatives, had even won a free trip to the Caribbean. Investigators also came across a forum where the woman wrote about her fear of her ex-husband Rob. Dixon was interrogated about his whereabouts on the day of Paige's disappearance, but the details of the conversation were not disclosed. However, the missing woman's relatives received encouraging news. Rob's alibi was confirmed, as he was more than 3,000 kilometers away from Colorado at the time of the incident. Thus, both of Paige's ex-husbands had a solid alibi. So who could have been interested in her disappearance? Not only the police, but also numerous volunteers joined the search. It is worth noting that Mesa County, where Paige lived, is a rather large territory with an area of about 8,500 square kilometers. The participants of the search operation combed the area several times but found no trace of the missing woman. 2 weeks had passed since Paige's disappearance when a new lead emerged. On the side of Highway 50, the woman's personal belongings were found scattered: a checkbook and a video rental card. Most interestingly, this location was approximately 25 kilometers from where Paige's burned-out car was discovered. Following this revelation, the police learned shocking details about the missing woman's life. Just a few days ago, everyone was convinced that Paige was an exemplary mother and wife, but now facts about her secret life, which even her closest relatives had no idea about, began to surface. The shocking truth about Paige's secret life stunned everyone who knew her. It turned out that in addition to dance lessons and participation in network marketing, the woman moonlighted as an escort under the pseudonym Carrie. Her profile was found on adult websites, offering a wide range of intimate services. "I was shocked," confessed prosecutor Pete Hotzinger, who had 20 years of experience under his belt. "In all my career, this is the first time I've encountered such a case. A good mother, a financially secure woman, and suddenly such a horrible story." Despite the fact that this information came as a real blow to Paige's loved ones, they had no doubt. The only reason that pushed her into the arms of escorting was her children. She found herself in the role of the sole breadwinner and was desperately trying to make ends meet, her brother Craig explained. According to relatives, Paige was drowning in debt. She had 3 little ones to support. Her ex-husband had declared bankruptcy and was paying a measly alimony of only $500 a month. In addition, the mortgage on the house was almost $6,000 a month. Investigators thoroughly checked all the clients of the missing woman. Among them was 30-year-old painter George Coralluso, who called Paige as many as 20 times on the day of her disappearance. Interestingly, just 2 days after she went missing, the man hastily left town. Another client turned out to be 56-year-old Lester Ralph Jones, a father of 2 adult sons. Having obtained a search warrant, police officers spent several hours thoroughly searching the house where the suspect lived with his 3rd wife. However, law enforcement officials did not disclose what exactly they managed to find. But most interestingly, Lester Ralph Jones worked as a mechanic at the same van store where service dogs led investigators from the parking lot where Paige's burned-out car was found. Could this be just a coincidence? But that's not all. One of the last phone conversations the missing woman had on that fateful evening was with someone using a disposable cell phone. And according to the investigation, there is a video recording from a local store showing a man, presumably Jones, buying such a track phone. 3 months after Paige's mysterious disappearance, officials publicly cleared both of her ex-husbands of suspicion. "Lester Jones was our main suspect," said Deputy District Attorney Dan Rubenstein, who headed the investigation into the case. He had no doubt that it was Lester Ralph Jones who was Paige's killer. But unfortunately, without the victim's body, it was impossible to prove his guilt. 5 long years passed since Paige's disappearance until, in 2012, a random traveler stumbled upon human remains. Experts had no difficulty identifying the find thanks to dental records. It was established that these were the remains of the missing woman. But the most shocking discovery was the circumstances of her death. Despite the lack of direct evidence, Prosecutor Rubenstein was convinced that the collected testimony was sufficient to bring charges against Lester Jones. After all, it was near the suspect's place of work that the victim's burned-out car was found. The seat in the vehicle had been pushed back to accommodate someone much larger than Paige. And then there was the infamous track phone, a disposable phone from which the woman was called 5 times on the day of her disappearance. "We have video evidence that it was Mr. Jones who purchased this track phone," Rubenstein stated. Having obtained a warrant, the police thoroughly searched the vehicles of Lester and his wife. After completing the investigative actions, Sergeant Smith personally informed the suspect that his vehicles would be returned to him soon. This call, combined with other evidence, played a crucial role. On the eve of Thanksgiving in November 2014, Lester Jones was arrested and charged. Oddly enough, he seemed not at all surprised by this turn of events. In July 2016, exactly a decade after Paige's mysterious disappearance, the trial of her alleged killer began. But after 6 weeks of hearings, the jury reached a deadlock, although they were all convinced of Jones' guilt. A retrial had to be scheduled, which ended just before Christmas of the same year. This time, the jury was finally able to reach a unanimous verdict: guilty. Lester Ralph Jones was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Currently, the convict is serving his sentence, but continues to appeal the court's decision. In one of the sources, I came across interesting information regarding Jones' possible motive for committing the crime. Someone, whether Lester himself, the police, or perhaps just speculation, expressed the opinion that the man killed Paige because he was afraid she would tell his wife about their affair. However, it is impossible to say with certainty whether this is true. Currently, Paige's 3 children live with their father on the East Coast. They say they will never forget their mother, who spared no effort to provide them with a decent life. What do you think about this story and about Paige herself? Share your thoughts in the comments. That's all for now. See you next time.